Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for this episode 22 here on New Frontier with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, it is April 2nd. It is 7 o'clock in the morning. I currently have time stopped for this update portion, as I usually do, particularly important this month because we have got a pile of work to do. And our bank account is currently sitting at 11.4 million. That is down a little bit from when we were together last. Now, going forward, I'm not going to worry about keeping track of how much I spent on particular items. I'll always show you what new equipment we have or upgrades that we've done. But unless it impacts the bank account in a very significant way, and by that I mean in the millions, I'm not going to worry about it going forward. The important thing to keep in mind is when we got our logging windfall, we were at essentially 13 million. And so we want to see if we can work our way back to that number and beyond it. That's the important thing. But anything that does have a significant impact, I will specifically report on. So you may be wondering why we are coming in on the second of the month, particularly when I said it was going to be a busy one. And that is because it has been busy. Grandpa and Walter and I cut all the grass and baled it up yesterday. And here shortly when I get zoomed out, I'll start a picture-in-picture for you of some of that work. But we cut all the grass that was available to us. And we got in total 270 bales. And I tracked what we got off our main grass field, and we got 90 bales off of that in its current state. Now we will be plowing out some areas and planting those in. So I'm expecting next time we'll get, somewhere between 95 and 100 bales, I'm hoping. So what did I do with all those bales? Well, I certainly didn't put them in this little shed you see here in front of us. That's our bale storage. I did put in another bale storage. You can see it down over there. And we'll head there and take a closer look in just a second. But I did sell our windrower and our tedder because everything we're doing is strictly grass bales now, 180 centimeter grass bales, and we're going to make our hay and silage using our production. So we didn't need those any longer. And I did spend a little money, and I sold off our Massey, and I upgraded to this International 1455, an older tractor still. And this really, honestly, I wanted one by not particularly out of necessity, although it is a little bit more convenient because it is a little heavier. It handles the bigger bales. And it also is a little better for cleaning out the pen because it's four-wheel drive and a little taller. I can run over the pile of manure and just carry on forward and not have to back out. So there are some advantages, but I was getting along just fine with the Massey. I just wanted one, and it wasn't terribly expensive. Once we're done with those silage bales you see over there, I'm going to get rid of that bale grab. Not that it doesn't work good, but we're going to be using all larger bales, and none of them will be wrapped. And I think a bale spike will just be a little bit more convenient for that going forward. So something that'll change in the future. Not a big deal, though, I know. Now, I have started putting some grass through our production. I didn't look at this all that closely, and some of the inputs, it doesn't hold a lot of material, and grass is one of them. It only holds 45,000 liters, although it does process it reasonably quickly, but it does take a bit of monitoring to keep it full, and that's what we're going to use our International for, is we're going to move these bales in here on a fairly regular basis from our bale storage that I put down here. And I just put a hoop building in to keep our grass covered and out of the elements. So that works pretty well. Let's run back up here. One thing, because of the amount of grass we got, I have changed my mind a little bit. And this area here, you can kind of see where we mowed. I was planning on making it a field, but I was going to do a grass field. We're going to put a crop field in here for now. It'll probably eventually turn to grass at some point, but for now, we have more need for crops, so we're going to plow that out and put a crop in there. Undecided fully yet what's going to go in there. We'll probably deal with that, I think, next episode. I think this month there's enough going on it's going to warrant a couple episodes. So we'll take care of that, make that decision before next episode. And like I said, we've got to plow out our grass field down here and plant or seed the new areas in there. That's our main grass field. And of course, I plowed mowed everywhere I could. So the areas down along our other two fields too that we're going to expand into have all been mowed. And where our other crop field is going to go, kind of across from our canola, has all been mowed. So that's where all that grass came from. Now, I did spend a little bit of money in the used market. I can't stay out of that, apparently. But I bought these two items used. Both of them were kind of not, didn't need right now, but kind of had plans for them in the future. But I thought I'd pick them up while they were used. Why not? This truck here, I actually originally bought and had a chrome tank on it because we were going to use it to haul our milk. But one of the other things we need to do this month is we need to move some slurry to our production, not only so we can start making fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, but some of our pens are starting to get full. And I was looking at what our options were for moving that slurry around the farm. And I realized, you know what? This truck had actually worked pretty darn good for doing that. So I just put a black tank on here and I'll watch for another one to come up used, or we'll just buy one new when we have a significant enough amount of milk to move that it warrants it. So we're going to use that to move slurry around right now. And then this bad boy, it came up used, and it's actually barely used. I don't even think it had 10 hours on it. I think it's like 8 hours, something like that. So it wasn't a whole lot off, admittedly, but I thought this would be a nice tractor to have on the farm. Specifically, what I was looking for was a little bit more horsepower to pull our planter here. What was our big case is just marginal on horsepower for pulling that. No such worries with this because it came in the store, not the super cheaty amount of horsepower like 1100 or 1200, whatever the heck it was, but it does have 600 horsepower. And it was going to cost me to take the horsepower down, so I just left it at that. I suppose it's not that unrealistic. You know, what is the base is like 450 to get to like 600 or 630 or whatever the heck it is. I suppose that engine could be tuned to that point. I would think it could anyways. They certainly do it in the pickup trucks. Don't know how it would affect its longevity, but anyways, long story short, it's at 600 and some horsepower, and of course I had to put the big boots on it, but that'll make a nice planting tractor. And I don't remember from 22 that it had more speed, but it has like a 63 kilometer an hour top end, like a fast track, so that's kind of nice for moving things around, going to the store and such. So anyways, we got that sucker used. This is sitting off because it was new, because we are going to buy some cattle, another job we have to do this month, although it's not the big buy that I originally foresaw, but we are going to add, I think we're going to add about 72, basically two trailer loads of cow calves into our breeding pen. We're going to put them in the one that has our existing herd in it, just because it's easy for the time being as far as straw and feed goes, because we're still limited on that. We're just getting our production cranked up. But once we get a little bit of reserve TMR on hand, then we're going to go ahead and add more to particularly our breeding cattle. And I've got some more comments on that we'll talk about when we get to the animal dealer later in the episode. So this episode, we are also going to get the corn in here. That's the field we're going to work on. and we'll do that in a little bit. But we have some chores around the farm to do. We need to feed some animals and feed some productions. So that's what we're going to do here first. So let me get kind of set up for that. Basically, I just need to get the time put back where it belongs. I think I have everything else set, but I'll just take a look at what we need to go where, and I'll be back with you in just a minute, and we'll actually get some work done. So catch up with you in just a second. Okay, there we go. I think I have everything organized, and I've got the HUD back on so we can see basically what we have in our silo. I thought I'd remind you. So we currently have on hand 28,000 liters of canola, 52,000 liters of oats, 51,000 liters of sorghum, and 13,000 liters of soybeans. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a load of oats here with our grain truck up to grandmother's bakery, and at least she can start working on that. Now, she could use that sorghum, but we are using that to feed the animals, so we're not going to give her any of that right now. But that's kind of what I was thinking we might put in the backfield there. Uh, that's what I call the one that's behind the cow pens. That's kind of what I'm thinking we'll put in there, but I haven't made that final decision yet because we also have the area down by the canola. Maybe we'll put sorghum in there. We'll see. I'll worry about getting them plowed out, and then we'll figure out what we're going to put in there. So let's take this up to grandmother here, and she can start making some bread with this. And like I said, I've had oat bread. It's pretty darn good. Now, hopefully I can find the trigger without having to turn the markers on. I can see this is going to be a hard spot to stay out of the trees. It should be right in here if we watch for it to come up. There it is. So we'll give her this. Now, the other thing we're going to do with this truck is when we start to seed those fields, I'm going to fill it full of seed, and that's how we're going to fill our seeder up because it's got a built-in auger. So that's another use we have for this particular truck. It's going to be our seed tender. Now, we might have, or could potentially have, a large volume of seed left over. So I'm thinking we might need to put in a little silo that we can store that once we've bought it so that we have some place for it. So I think that's all we're going to use this truck for here right at the moment, but I am going to leave it out. What I'll do is park it up here because we are going to need to use it here in a little bit as a seed tender. So we'll just leave it here for now. Now next, I have the little farm all set up here with the small trailer, and this is what I use to feed the pigs and the chickens. So we'll do that next. So, and that's what we need our sorghum for. Actually, let's do this so I can avoid the trees for a little bit. I should have done that going up to grandmother's place, actually. Then I don't have to worry about those darn trees. But I do need to jump out to see the trigger. And I think is it just in front here? Yes, it is. So we'll dump this in here. Now our cattle are okay. They've got about 70,000 liters of TMR. I mixed that up actually last month and put in there. So they're okay for the time being. Okay, now we'll run around here and we'll fill this up again, and that'll be the base food for the pigs. Now, I usually do this, or have been doing it off camera, but I thought, you know what? It's been a long time. I think we did it when we first put the pens in, but for something different, because it is work that has to go on around the farm. So I thought it would make for a little bit of a change of pace. But like I said, we still are going to get that corn in. I don't need to be zoomed out quite so far. And it should be roughly the same place, I think. Yes. Now this will take all of this sorghum. Now at this point, I usually reconfigure the trailer and for 4,000 liters, and then I put 4,000 liters of the other products in here, and that makes a pretty good pig mix. We go slightly over on the oil one, but not that far over that it's that big a deal. But we are going to get set up and make pig food in our production as well. I'm just going to have to manage it because, like I said, it doesn't have a large storage on a lot of the materials, but it has a fairly good processing speed. So it's just going to it's going to be a little bit more management than what I counted on, but I think we can make it work. For a while, anyways. We may have to expand it for the cows at some point, but for the pigs and that, it should be fine. So now what we want to do is we want to grab um, that soybean. Was it back here? No, it wasn't. Still ahead. Because the soybean we need for our mineral feed. That's the one thing we're missing for making our TMR. So we want to get some mineral feed on the go, and we need soybean and wheat. Now we don't have any wheat, so we're going to have to buy that for the time being. But we'll take and throw our soybean in there, and at least we've got that portion of it. So that means we need to grow a little wheat. Of course, grandmother wants wheat as well, so there's another field. We currently have barley and canola in the ground, and I'm thinking we'll do corn, wheat, and sorghum in the 3 fields we have available. Kind of the outstanding issue is we have that little piece across the road. You know what? I'll show you here once we get this dropped off. That's the just trying to decide if we leave that to cut for grass or do we make a little field and then put that in the mix. Oh, shoot, those bales are sitting on top of the trigger. Okay, you know what we're going to do? We'll just push them out of the way because it's full for now, and I'll put them back over top in a little bit. At least that's one nice thing with the bales. I can stack them on top of the trigger so I don't have to, it may not be in the production, but it's sitting there being fed. Should have moved those. Forgot about that. There we go. So that's not very realistic, but it gets the job done. I said afterwards I'll move him back on top. But okay, let's go for a little drive here quick. Now, it won't be particularly quick with this little tractor, but quick enough. Now, one thing I will say is I have turned off the destruction from the natural disasters, and I'm actually going to plow out this entire field and reseed it all because we are just getting more and more hail damage. Those dark green areas we're driving by, those are all new patches yet again. But I don't think, well, I know for a fact the painted grass is no longer growing at the same rate as the planted grass. So I'm just going to plow this all in and reseed the whole thing. Now, this is the area here that I kind of mowed out. This is that new section that we bought at the end of last episode. And originally was intending to leave it as grass, but I'm trying to decide if I should take this area here and actually make it a crop field. And I think I probably will. And so that'll, you know, throw that into the mix with our other fields. And that's why I haven't decided exactly what's going to go where. This is the other big field area we mowed. So that's what I'll do off camera before I bring you back in again. Once we're done this episode, is I'll get these all plowed out, scanned, lined, stone picked, and then the next episode we'll go and decide what we're going to put in there and work on that. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll just leave you there for a quick minute. I'm going to stop at the shop here and reconfigure this trailer, and we'll finish with the pigs. So I'll catch up with you in just a second. Okay, we're back. I have the trailer reconfigured, so it's now holds 4,000 liters, exactly half of what our previous configuration was. But before I did that, I remembered that I needed some weight in our production for our mineral feed, so I hauled one load up of wheat, 8,000 liters, and dumped it in our production. Now we use three parts wheat to 1 part soybean in our mineral feed, so I could actually move or taken up 3 trailer loads, but I just put the one in for now. When that's used up, if we still need more mineral feed, well, I'll get some more. But we are going to have wheat in the ground of our own, so no sense buying any more than we have to. Now, the fact that this trailer can be configured um, to a capacity that is half works out really good for feeding pigs, because the base food is 50% of the mix and the grain is 25%, or exactly half, and the protein, which is the canola, is 20%, so just a little less than half. So by filling up this trailer again with canola and bringing it up, we are kind of overfeeding the protein by a small amount, but not enough to worry about. I guess, you know, if we kept feeding the pigs this way, we'd eventually get to the point where we could get away with not adding any additional protein. Now, I suppose I could have actually taken these up to our production and made our pig food, but I would have had then to buy some more root crop, and I have lots of root crop in the pen, so I don't mind doing it like this. It doesn't take too long. But we will eventually, of course, make pig food in our production. And we want to get to the point where we're not buying any of required components for the mix. Okay. That takes care of our pigs. And our chickens and our cows, like I said, I took care of them off camera. So now we just have one more chore here to do in the farmyard before we head to the field. So let's get this parked up, and we're going to move some slurry. Now we need slurry for our fertilizer production, our liquid fertilizer, but the reason I'm moving it now is actually one of our pens is just about full. So we need to take care of that. Oh, Now this truck holds 20,000 liters, and our production again for slurry holds 45,000. So that works out pretty good. Two loads with a truck basically pretty much fills our production up. Now I don't know that our production is going to keep up with the slurry that we're going to be making. So we may need to put in a storage tank, and we could end up doing some spreading of manure and slurry on our grass fields after all. We'll see how fast we can produce. I think it's right about there. Yes, sir. Now we'll just take one load out of here because there was still room. I think it holds 100,000, so the cow pen, that is. So that'll give it enough room for a little while. Because we need to back in, I figured this truck actually would work really good for this particular job. You can see I moved our hay bale or grass bales right out of the way. Okay, let's dump that in there. What the heck? Mustn't have been quite over top of the trigger. There we go. What is going on? That's kind of odd. Oh well, we got it in there. All right. I'll get this parked up, and I'll actually move our bales back over our trigger, and then we'll get some corn in the ground. So we'll catch up with you in just a few minutes. Okay, we're in our big new to us tractor here. Perfect for planting. And I seen the truck sitting there, and I remembered we were going to go ahead and get some cows. But you know what? We're out of time for this episode. We have just enough time to get some corn in the ground here. So we'll start off next episode with going and getting the cattle. Now, get her turned on here. Lower down. And away we go. Our first crop of corn. Now, I took the fertilizer tank off of here because with precision farming, we are going to spray after the crop comes up, and we just need to do one application. Now, I have been told that you can actually, if you put the crop sensors on, you can actually put your fertilizer down when you're seeding still, and it worked perfectly. But I don't think, from reading the documentation, the intention is that the sensors detect the green in the plant, and that's how it determines how much nitrogen it needs. So in real life, you would need to have the crop emerged before you spray. And so that's kind of been my habit, is I wait like next month we'll go and we'll spray the corn. So I'm going to just stick with that. I mean, it does mean an extra pass, I know, but I think based on what I read, it's a more realistic way of doing it. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I don't know if we'll need to upgrade this planter for a larger one. It's basically, I think it's 11 meters. We'll just have to see how big our our fields that we need to plant yet. That'd be, we need to use the planter for the soybean, the sorghum, and the corn. I think I'd have to go looking, but I think right now the only planter that is bigger that's available to us is the John Deere one. That's 18 meters. Oh, I don't know. Could we stomach pulling a John Deere planter around with on our case farm? I don't think the case ones are out yet. So we'll see how we make out with this. It is, we just need it for pig food production, and my grandmother needs some for her flowers, so I don't think we need to have huge fields. The same with soybean. We need it for mineral feed, and we just need a little bit. So I think we can try and keep these fields to a manageable size, and we can just stick with this planter. We'll see how we make out with that, with that plan. Now, can I get around these darn trees here? Yeah, looks like I'll be okay. Fix that up later. You know what? We're just going to drop her down here and carry on. Now, this tractor has no problem at all with this planter. So I think we are probably done for buying tractors here on the farm. Unless, I think almost every tractor we have we've bought used. So only exception would be if when the hours get way up there, we might want to buy a new version just to help reduce the maintenance costs. And I think our farm build is pretty close to being done, at least in this area here. I believe I mentioned we probably need to put in a silo to hold some seed potentially, and maybe a slurry pit of some sort. But I don't think we're going to need to add a whole bunch more. Now, I guess I could have used steering assist for this, but I don't mind doing it freehand. I was just thinking, we might find ourselves making some silage bales again. If we think we've got silage to sell, it'd be a lot more convenient for us to sell bales than it would be the loose silage that we produce, just because we can haul so much more in one load with bales. So we may not be done with wrapped silage bales. So I think, this field might be pretty much in its final configuration. We'll see how much corn we get off of it. But we're not going to add any more pigs like once that pen is full. So if we're producing enough to make our pig food, that's all we need. We can make seed though from corn as well, because it's a pretty high yielding crop. We should get a fair amount off this field, I would think. Well, I suppose we're gonna push our silo here pretty hard when we get all these products on the go. We might need to add an extension here in the not too distant future. I might go on the hunt for a little larger roller, because our roller isn't all that big. This field isn't too bad, but our other fields are getting to be a pretty fair size that we're going to be putting in. We need to roll, so. But I'll do that off camera and I'll showcase it next episode. What I'm going to do is I'll get the fields plowed out, and then I'll make a plan as to what's going in where, and I'll bring you back in and we'll get those seeded, and then I can show off whatever a roller I come up with. And then of course we will buy some cows too. But I'll pretty much start the next episode right off the back of this one. I'll just get the corn in and this field rolled, and like I said, once I get the fields plowed out off camera, then we'll bring you back in and we'll carry on. There's just so much going on this month. I think it warrants a couple episodes, and then we'll likely just jump through to harvest. You never know, by then we might have some TMR made. But I think I'm probably going to have to leave you there, because that's going to be a fairly long episode at this point, I'm thinking. And you pretty much see what's going on here. That does make a nice looking unit, I have to admit. Oops. Just about didn't catch that in time. So, if you're still with me, I really do appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would appreciate that as well. And if you want to see when other content like this lands, hit that old notification bell. But for this episode here on New Frontier, it's Farmer Murphy signing off.